Hey YouTube, welcome to another Green Dragon Gaming Club Battle Report. Without us, they never feel like winners. Without them, we couldn't look so good. This is another Pretty Boy Bat Rep. This is Game 2 from CornerHammer GT. For those of you that watched the first video, I suffered a loss round 1, and now I'm trying to gain a little ground back. So this is kind of funny, but for those of you that don't know, the Green Dragons Gaming Group, we're in the greater Philadelphia area. That's where we're located. And so I've been going to tournaments for the past year and a half now. And most of the tournaments we go are in the Mid-Atlantic region. And the main lifeblood of that region is the CGL group in Virginia, which is Gene Phelps's group, who is the guy from Wargaming in the Balcony. He is Waldorf. So I've seen him and or his club at every tournament I've gone to for the past year and a half, basically. And it just so happens we have never played each other. I played his son, I think, 3 times in 3 different tournaments. So there's been kind of this running joke, like, that I've said to him that he keeps avoiding me in these tournaments. And so it was too late for CornerHammer, but for the next tournament that we'll be going to, which is Battle Cry, I actually laid down a grudge match to play him round 1, and that way, because we've never played each other before, to actually get a game in. Well, as fate would have it, we actually got matched up round 2 of CornerHammer, which is hilarious because there were 64 people there. It was just really, really kind of funny how that worked out. So anyway, I was really excited going into this game because I've been wanting to play Gene. Yeah, it'll be exciting. And now we'll have something to grudge about at Battle Cry. So anyway, this is my list. Feel free to pause it, take a look over it, and then we'll get into the battle here. So this was the diagonal deployment, and it was hold the center. So this is a nice little overview. On the left, I have trappers. I've got my 2 Stratopults. One's on the hill. Put the Merc-Vets on the hill to give them rerolls to their charges, and plus they can see stuff and shoot it. My other unit of trappers is scouted ahead. Or vanguarded at this point, possibly. And then I've got my big bruiser unit behind them with my general and BSB. I decided to go with Shamanism again for this game, which is why you see Shrek up front in that unit. I went with Shamanism because he does have 3 artillery pieces, so that doesn't hurt to have Shamanism 4 to protect a little bit against the shooting. And plus, Pyromancy is not going to hurt his Iron Orcs all that much, and he has quite a bit of chaff. So I just figured go with Shamanism. I'm going to go and fight him. I need the combat buffs, and I can protect against the shooting a little bit. Next to that unit is a Bruiser Dart, then Brucey, my Rock-a-Rock, and then I've got the other Bruiser Dart on the other side, and again I have decided to ambush my King Eaters to go after the artillery. So on his end, let me just go back a picture. On the far left, behind his lines, he's got 3 catapults. 2 of them are just the regular splatterers, which are the generic catapults, and then 1 is a get launcher. He's got a unit of Wolf Riders in the woods, and then in the center, he's got a unit of like 22 Iron Orcs with his BSB. Then in the center, direct center, he's got a unit of like 26 Orc Ed Bashers, just common Orcs with paired weapons. And then he has another unit of 22 Iron Orcs with his general. And then he's got those 2 little red things are his Nasher. He's got Cave Goblin Chiefs riding Nashers. He was really concerned about my my ambushers, so he has 1 place behind his lines kind of guarding his artillery there. He then has 2 more units of Wolf Riders, and one of the units is his Witch Doctor, who has Witchcraft, which makes perfect sense. He took a Wizard Master out of Witchcraft, which, let me tell you, is really terrifying. I up until this point have not seen a lot of Witchcraft in my games, so it was really something interesting to see. So anyway, so that's the board. I think this is just vanguards and such. And then I believe he dropped to take first turn, so he's moving up. Yeah, and he's just advancing in the middle, getting close to the objective and also trying to set up some charges. Let's see. Oh, it looks like I vanguarded my trappers up a little bit more. Yeah, I think he's just measuring for spells. There's his mage there. So in his magic phase, he gets Will-o-the-Wisp off on my trappers that have vanguarded ahead to give them random movement. What he's hoping is that I random movement them into one of his units and accidentally get them into combat so that he can just eliminate them without them being an annoyance. And then he puts... he gets another spell off too, which I'll show in a minute, but he puts off the 2 successful spells, give him 2 Evil Eyes, which are going to increase his movement on those Orc Ed Bashers by 2, which is pretty scary, considering with the War Cry, they can now be movement 7 with Swift Stride. And with that, he puts Twisted Effigy on my Merc Vets, which means that they cannot shoot in my turn. Which is unfortunate, but I decided to let it go off because the one spell that I needed to stop, and I did stop, was Bewitching Glare. My leadership is not stellar. I have some units that are vulnerable, and I believe he threw it onto my Rock. Oh no, not the Rock. I believe he threw it onto maybe my big Bruiser unit, and I definitely didn't want to take a chance with that, so I stopped that. I threw all my dice at it. It's not the end of the world if my Merc Vets can't shoot. They don't have fantastic targets this game. They would probably just pick on one of his block units, so let that go. And then he has like a couple of like random shots with bows from his Wolf Riders. He picks off one of my trappers. Luckily for me, he did not kill a second one. Otherwise, that would have been really bad. Because again, stupid me, I set them up right near the board edge so that they could run off when they panic. I think his Git launcher hits, does a couple wounds to my Merc Vets. Luckily, his catapults both miss. Let's see. Awkward angle for a picture. I do apologize. But what this is showing is that I angle my trappers kind of in single file, and I angle them between the gaps of the orcs so that I hopefully don't hit them. I would have to roll really high, and I rolled perfectly to kind of just move them up and still have them be chaff, which was nice. And then I move up my other trappers to get away from the board edge. My other Scratapult faces out because he's moved his chaff over there. Again, sorry, I forgot to flip these pictures. He had moved up his other Wolf Riders. I marched my Bruisers around them, or yeah, around them because they were facing the flank. I don't want to give him a flank there. I don't mind giving him a flank with the unit that has his Shaman in it, though, because then I can try and pick him off. So I'll gladly bait him there. I just shuffle around. I'll get you off that picture. In my magic phase, I put on the curse of the Wildwood on this Iron Orc unit, because the Orc Ed Bashers are chaffed right now, and this is the one unit that with the War Cry he could try to make a long charge with them. I just want to discourage that. And then we get into shooting. I think one of my Scratapults hits and does 3 wounds to this Iron Orc unit. And that's about it. On his turn, I did this again. I'm seeing a pattern here. He charges with, I believe it was his Iron Orc unit with the BSB in it, at the trappers. And so I fled, which was the right move, but it went through the Scratapult, and even with a leadership 9, I fail it, and the Scratapult runs off the board. So that was unfortunate. In the center, because the trappers kind of foiled his plans. He had to get rid of them, so charged those guys in there to clear them out, which is perfect because now it brings them closer to my Merc Vets, which have a long charge range. He swaps his Witch Doctor out into this other unit and moves them behind my lines. He's just trying to get him closer to do some of his spells. Over here, he's moving these Wolf Riders up around just to be a nuisance. And he's now crowding the center, and this is turn 2, so he's going to be trying to get an objective point there. In his magic phase, and I don't have a picture of the card, but this was huge. I tried my best to stop Bewitching Glare, and I could not do it. He gets it off on my Merc Vets because he knows that he's in a vulnerable position. And now I have a tough decision to make. I'm normally leadership 9. Do I want to chance it taking a leadership 7 with the reroll? And I'm looking at this because I think I need like an 8 with Swift Stride into that center unit of orcs, and then I'd have the reroll with the hill. And if I connect into that unit, I will blow through them almost completely, and then I can overrun into the back of his lines, or even into one of his other units. And if I do that, I break the back of his army, and most assuredly I set myself up for the win. So I thought it was worth the risk. I thought about it for a minute, and then I said, I'm going to take the chance and roll the panic check. And I think he was totally shocked by that move. I think in his mind, he for sure thought I was a conservative player and would just say, no, I'll just sit there. But the joke was on him, I suppose, and I pass it on the first roll, and he goes, well, I guess that was a good move then. Meanwhile, he puts the Evil Eye on my Big Bruiser unit to slow them down a little bit. So, without further ado, in my turn, I declare 2 charges into the Orc unit. He takes the charges, which I'm surprised. I thought he might try and flee. But no, he takes it, and I get both my Scratapult in, which was also on the hill, and my Merc Vets, and I crisscross them. So now, because I crisscross them, the Merc Vets overlap to the point where if I blow through this unit and I pursue/overrun, I'm going to hit the back corner of the Iron Orc unit and hit them in the flank, which is perfect. Pegleg comes onto the board, is going to go hunt down this one catapult. Hannibal comes on the other side to be in the flank of the Iron Orcs because I know I might need him to help out once I get stuck in with these guys because of the fact that they have bodyguard. And plus, it also makes the Wolf Riders have to take a march test out of leadership bubble. Let's see. So this is the rest of my movement. I then move my other Bruiser stick up, not only because they act as chaff, but because now at the bottom of turn 2, I have another scoring unit near the center to try to get that token. And as long as the Merc Vets do their job, I will get a token for this round. I face the other Bruiser dart out to just threaten his Witch Doctor's unit of Wolf Riders. The Bruisers in the middle, I think, actually shuffle back a little bit. I don't want his other Iron Orcs getting in there because I know that the units in the middle are not going to be there. And then I move up with Brucey pretty aggressively. He is out of line of... Let me see. Oh, no, he's chaffed up by the Bruiser Dart. Yeah, I just move up with Brucey just to put pressure in the middle. His hoppers are facing the wrong way. And if I can tempt him to bring in the Wolf Riders, I will definitely do so. But I don't think he is that risky. In Magic, I get off Children of Umi on this unit just to protect them a little bit. I don't want him getting cheap wounds through, so that's very nice. And then I get a Totemic Summon up, so Shrek just, summons a clone of himself onto the field. And I'm going to try to Breath Weapon these Wolf Riders with his mage in it, hoping to panic them, which would be awesome. In shooting, though, I'm only able to kill one, so it's not enough for a panic test. Oh well, worth a try. And yeah, and then in combat, the Merc Vets obliterate the unit. Unfortunately, though, I think he had like 2 guys left, and with those 2 guys, he was able to do the last wounded to kill one Merc Vet. But even so, they get run down by the chariot. My Merc Vets overrun to the flank of the Iron Orcs, or pursue into the flank of the Iron Orcs. And then the chariot gets the hell out of the way. I do face him the right way later. It was just because of the frontage. I put him in backwards so that he could fit. So that is that, and then I pick up the objective for the end of the phase, which is nice. Alright, so this is the Greenskins' time to retaliate. The Wolf Riders charge into my trappers. My trappers stand and shoot, don't do anything, and yeah. I think the Wolf Riders will be triumphant on that one. Now he's trying to regroup. He brings over his hoppers to threaten both my Kin Eater and my Scratapult. His Iron Orc unit with his general are just turning to face. They don't bother taking the bait with the chaff because he knows he's going to get sandwiched then between the Rock and my Bruisers. He then moves his Witch Doctor out, kind of into the open there, which was interesting. But he's out of arc of anything that can shoot him. In Magic, I took an upside down picture. I don't know why. But it's Bewitching Glare onto... Yeah, he got Bewitching Glare off again onto my big Bruiser unit, and I am not willing to take the chance with that unit, so I reluctantly accept it, and they're going to be shaken, so they can't do anything. Unfortunate. I could swear I tried to stop it again, but obviously couldn't. And now he's trying to focus all of the bow shots and artillery that he has to kill this unit in the middle. And he's doing a number on them, but literally is 1 wound short of killing them, and they pass their panic test, which was awesome. What else we got going on here? I think his Get Launcher misfired. I think that's what that's showing. Yeah, can't fire this turn or the next turn. In combat, this was unbelievable. So, the Trappers actually kill one of the Wolf Riders. He only kills 2. And with my general nearby, they pass their break test. What? What brave little buggers. So they are holding up those Wolf Riders for a turn. Oh, wow. And then we go into this combat, and yeah, it is brutal. I kill a lot of Iron Orcs. It looks like I kill about half the unit. He does manage to peel off with his attacks to the side 1 more Merc Vet, though, which hurts. Now, I made a big mistake here. And, you know, it was something that occurred to my opponent, and he asked me about it at the end of the game. And the mistake was, why didn't I direct all the attacks I could into his BSB and kill the BSB? Now, this is my fault, but I made the assumption that his BSB had a 1-up armor save. Because almost every Iron Orc BSB that I've seen, especially ones that are supposed to sit in Iron Orcs, have a 1-up armor save. It's very easy to do. And so I have Strength 5 attacks. I need to wound him on 4s, and then he's getting a 3-up save. I don't want to waste a bunch of attacks into his BSB where the likelihood is I'm not going to kill him. So that's why I threw all the attacks to the unit. I want to get rid of as many of his guys as possible, so when he inevitably faces the front, he doesn't have a lot of guys left to swing with, and I can kill them off because my agility is higher. That was my plan. The joke, however, was on me, because Gene did not defend his BSB at all. His BSB has the plate armor that he comes with, and that's basically it. He's got the Pana Protecting Pension, which means he can steal the armor and the regen or ward save of whoever's attacking him, which in my case would be heavy armor, meaning that his 4-up armor save is the only protection that he had. So if I actually had directed attacks into him, he would only have a 6-up save, and I would probably kill him. Odds were heavily in my favor that I would kill him. He would lose bodyguard. he would be steadfast, but then he'd only be rolling once on a leadership 8. The next turn, I probably do more wounds to him and I break the unit. So that was a mistake on my part. I had Gene's list. I looked at it before the battle and I just forgot about it going into it and didn't bother to check. So totally my fault, but there you go. That's what assumptions do. So yeah, so he holds, he passes his leadership 8 rerollable with the bodyguard check, and he turns to face. So now we're going to grind. Okay, so this is my turn now. Hannibal comes into the rear to help out, trying to finish off this unit. Peggy goes into the 1 catapult to kill that off, pick up some points. This catapult about faces to put even more pressure on the ironworks in the center. And also just to shoot at them, but unfortunately I know those hoppers are probably going to countercharge me. The the last remaining bruiser, just bleeding out his eyes, just trundles forward to just stop the advance of the ironworks, and Brucey remains out of line of sight, but moves up in case he wants to charge, and then he can countercharge them. I'm a little gun shy with Brucey this game because of what happened the last time, but I'm happy with him sitting there because it blocks his 1 unit of Wolf Riders from doing anything. Because the base is so large, it's too hard for him to march around, and he also keeps failing march checks with his Witch Doctor, so he can't get closer to do some of the spells that he wants. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, my big bruiser unit is shaken, so they can't do anything. The other bruiser unit moves up a little bit, and my Shrek in the top right, that totemic summon, is now trying to chase after the Wolf Riders, who failed their march check and couldn't get super far away from him, so he's going that way. In Magic, I took another upside down picture. Awesome. I believe, yes, I got Break the Spirit off on this unit, so that's very helpful. I then roll completely out of my ass. For the goof, I did a swarm of insects into this catapult, and Gene lets it go through. I roll 7 6s. Yeah. Needless to say, the artillery piece got destroyed, but that was a lucky roll. Yeah, Peg-like kills. The catapult tries to overrun and hit the Nasher and just falls short. That would have been nice. We grind down here. As you can see, I've killed a lot of ironworks, but unfortunately could not kill them all, which is now the worst case scenario because not only does he pass his check, but now in the following turn, I'm thinking I'm only going to get a couple points of combat res by killing the last 2 guys, and maybe his BSB will stick around or even win combat if he does enough wounds to me. And I lost another Merc Vet, so now I'm down to half the unit, which is not good. The Wolf Riders finally finish off the last Trapper. Yeah. I couldn't expect more from those 4 Trappers. Alright, and then in the Orc and Goblin turn, because Pegleg failed to do his job and overrun into the 1 guy, both charge into the Scratapult. Not much I can do there. And then my opponent makes a really good move on one that unfortunately I couldn't do anything about. He charges his general out of his Iron Orc unit into the rear of my Merc Vets, and now I'm in really big trouble because that guy has the Axe of the Apocalypse, so he's going to rip apart my guys. Ugh, that's really bad. Those Merc Vets are worth a lot of points. And yeah, so this is how the board looks. His Wolf Riders fail their march test again, so they move past my Totemic Summon, but they're not going to quite be able to get away. His Witch Doctor runs as far away as possible from everything, and then the Wolf Riders just sit on the other side of the hill, ready to chaff if needed. And just to spite me, he finally, with his bow shots, kills that last guy in the middle. That's just been helping me collect tokens. Or stop him from collecting tokens. Then we go in this combat here, and yeah, his general absolutely rips through my Merc vets. I think kills them all, um, if not runs them down, whatever happened, and then just sits there. And now my Kin Eater, which is unbreakable, is stuck in that combat. And I think he's got his, I think maybe two guys left in his BSB, or one guy left in his BSB. And so now I'm relying on the Kin Eater to hopefully get those points, because I just bled 840 points right there. Not good. That swings the game big. Not to mention that my Scratapult gets killed. Oh, this is not going the way I want it to. On my turn, I'm now moving up aggressively with the Bruisers, who did not get Bewitching Glare the last turn. I move up the Bruiser Dart to try to chaff a little bit and get another token for the objective. And Brucey just sits there for the counter charge. Let's see. And to make matters worse for the Iron Orcs in the middle, I put Break the Spirit on them. The Totemic Summon actually is able to charge into the Wolf Riders this turn, and he kills them and runs them down, so that was nice. Now, I like this picture a lot. This is now the showdown. It is now down to his, I guess, his standard bearer, it looks like, and his Iron Orc BSB. I've done one wound to his BSB. He's done a couple wounds to me, and they're just going to slug it out. What is this? So this is some spell that he gets off. I forget what it is. I don't think it's that important. His general's kind of out in no man's land. He's facing the way that the Kin Eater, so that he can't see the Kin Eater. So the Kin Eater's just sitting there. I'm definitely not sending him in, though. That's just a suicide mission. He's now trying to surround this final combat, and as you can see, I decided it was more important to kill off the unit first, so the Kin Eater finishes off the standard bearer, so I collect those points for the Iron Orcs. The BSB does another wound to him, and now it's going to be the final combat to see if maybe Hannibal can finish off his BSB. So everybody's just gathering around to watch the end of this fight. So it looks like that. Okay. And then at this point, I'm really trying to push the issue. I want to fight and kill those Iron Orcs, but I don't want to be overly aggressive and give up more points than what I already have, because I know the Iron Orcs can dish out a lot of damage. So I want to get a counter charge with them. So I'm really I basically said here, and I'm going to feed him more points with that unit of Bruisers, but if he charges in, then I'm going to get hopefully 2 charges with the units in the middle. But of course, I'm forgetting that his Wolf Riders are right there to possibly chaff me, if he passes his March test, that is. Anyway, I could break the Spirit off again on the Iron Orcs. Oh, and it was so close, but in this combat, the BSB does win out and take down the Kin Eater. So, a little disappointing, but he did finish off those Iron Orcs, which was fine. Meanwhile, my Kin Eater is just dancing around his hoppers. He wants no part in that. And then his hoppers are going to probably bounce around to get out of the way. He takes a few losses and charges into the chaff to clear them. And he does, I believe, pass his March test. And so he is able to chaff up my big unit in the middle. And yeah, so he's dancing around with the hoppers right there. And then he marches up to shoot at the Kin Eater. And I think with his Get Launcher, which is the last artillery piece he has, and manages to do 3 wounds to me. So now, with that being said, I'm definitely not charging in. I decide to just conserve his points. The last turn I could have charged my Rock into the Iron Orcs, but they're going to go Great Weapons and have a decent chance of killing me. They're likely going to be steadfast. It was just not a good decision to do that, so I just held back and was content to win the objective and the game. So this was a really fun game. We had a blast. Uh, I did end up winning 13-7. Unfortunately, I bled a lot of points at the end. I thought it was going to be a bigger win, especially when I um, won the center as quickly as I did. But those Merc vets were worth a ton of points, and the objective uh, was what turned the game for me. So, just thinking about MVPs, my Merc vets were obviously my champions in this game. They broke the back of the army. They killed the Ed Bashers with hardly any losses in return. Um, Not to mention, then they overran into the Iron Orcs and basically took them out, and so that was a lot of points right there. And then for my opponent, I would say his Iron Orc Warlord really carried the day for him because that charge into the rear of the Merc Vets not only netted him 840 points, but it also prevented his BSB from dying, and who knows what else after that combat ended. And then after that, I mean, he conserved his points. I didn't have anything that could deal with him. So that was that. What did we learn today? Check the bloody paper. I really shouldn't assume anything. I need to check on those types of things. Like when I was in that combat with his BSB, just look at the paper and see what his defense is. Don't assume that he has a 1-up armor save. Oh, too funny. Witchcraft is terrifying, by the way. Uh, Again, I kind of took a big risk in this game with those Merc vets, knowing that if the odds were in my favor to pass that leadership check, and if I did, I pretty much won the game. But then again, if I failed, I'm again losing 840 points just running off the table. So witchcraft is really scary. The ability to manipulate movement um, is really scary, especially when you're playing orcs and goblins with that war cry. So I really like witchcraft. And then just to know about the rock, I don't know if I played the rock the best way I could. I definitely threatened the center. I made a lot of low leadership units take march checks. It forced his mage to stay out of range of certain units at different times. I don't know if I could have been maybe more aggressive with him, but I was a little gun shy after his awful performance the round before, so maybe that influenced me. I don't know. Feel free to leave comments, but that's all I've got on this one. Hit like, subscribe. Thank you for those that are watching and listening, and I'll see you on the next one.